No Regrets. Can you tell us a little about it?
Yeah, well, No Regrets is actually a remix of the album Pint Half Full that we released in 2019. Stumbled across a chap called Jim Griffiths who remixed the album for us last year. Really good guy, and the results just came out and we were really, really pleased with them.
Rest assured that your reward will tell of how you really, really want the walk. One last thing on your mind, you're gonna have to feel it till the end of time.
We recorded the album in Brendan's loft. Brendan's the drummer, fantastic guy, lovely drummer. And he's got a home studio set up, which we recorded in. It was a really hot, sticky summer. His daughter, Jennifer, was helping out. She engineered, did the whole recording for us. We had a really, really good time. Most of the songs were formed and complete, and I'd already been gigging the songs, and they were already good to go. But some of them we were still arranging and working some of the sections out as we were recording. But the whole thing just seemed to flow. It worked. We had a lot of fun doing it, and it was a really good time. So we just thought we'd put the album out again, and we rebranded it. Going to call it No Regrets this time, which is also another one of the songs on the album, keeping the E on the top of them. And then I thought, well, maybe you could do a different note, so I tried putting the G on the top. So you end up with like 3 different voicings of the same chords revoiced, and each time you're keeping a different note on the top, so the progression sort of builds.
Tell us about some of the themes for the record.
There's a mix of serious and a bit of comedy. Some of the songs are sort of trying to give a message, but then don't want to be too serious all the time. So there's some comedy in there, some pure fiction. We're just trying to write about whatever comes up in your day-to-day existences, and sometimes things will stick with you and you think, you know what, there's a song in there. Be it a heavy topic like Ain't No Turning Back, for example, is very much about the changes that we all are so aware of, the climate change and the way the planet is changing, the waste that is just abundant across the whole planet. What can we actually do as individuals? But you have to do your bit.
Well, there ain't no turning back. You're not coming back, no.
The song itself is happy and uplifting. I can remember actually stumbling across the chords. I was in a rehearsal for a totally different project, a blues band that I used to work with. And these chords we were in between conversation and chatting around songs or whatever, these chords just popped out underneath my hands. And I thought, oh, there's a kind of a pop song thing going on there that's not going to be relevant to this project at all, but I made a mental note and kept hold of the chord progression because I really liked it. And the song itself is a departure certainly from the more traditional blues formats that I've written in. It's again, I'm trying to cover different areas and genres and sort of stretch myself a bit musically. As long as people enjoy the song, that's all that really matters. So you go. And then to that for the verse section. And then use back into that section, and then there's a third section to that piece which is using like an augmented chord. I just love that tension, and then I moved it to which is using the same tension but coming at it, flattening it rather than raising it, as opposed to. And I just kind of quite liked it.
Just tell us a bit about Pint Half Full.
Half full.
Pint half full. Well, it's all about being optimistic. Taking the glass half full is the typical saying, but pint half full. How do you see life? Are you a pessimist or an optimist? Is kind of like the message. So it's a quirky kind of take on that concept about being positive. I was listening to some really early blues players like Muddy Waters, Lightning Hopkins, Jimmy Rogers, and all of those kind of really early blues players, studying some of their licks. I thought, oh wow, there's some really cool stuff in here, and tried to turn it into my own kind of thing. Mixed it up, tried to put some little rhythm changes in there, and yeah, came up with the song. That's just a great sounding lick. Then from the A you move to the D, so you get. But what I found some of the guys do is put in over the D chord the low F sharp, which sounds really cool. So I worked on, then found that. To really milk around the low F sharp over that sort of the D7 chord, putting that F sharp as like just love that sound, that real thick richness. And then the classic blues turnaround. And we put a little bit of a skip over that.
About If I Knew Then.
If I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't be here now.
If I Knew Then is actually pure fiction about a holiday romance that goes wrong. If I knew then what I knew now is kind of like the saying, is, you know, it's like being wiser after the event, and I just concocted a story around that concept. So on the chords for If I Knew Then and the structure, we still do run a blues jam session, but years ago I was trying to come up with something just a little bit different rather than just run out under the same old blues standards like you do, which is fine, nothing wrong with that, but I thought I'd just chuck a chord progression out and see what happened. And so I did, and came up with it. We did it, we liked it, it sounded quite cool, it grooved really well, so we did it again the following jam session, and I developed the lead line that came over it, pieced that whole thing together, that became a section, and then there was this preset rhythm on this really basic keyboard thing that had this kind of a groove, and it just stuck in my mind. So I fiddled around with that, and I thought, I don't know, we can put those two together. And so the whole song came together like that. We were doing a blues jam, and you got your standard 1, 4, 5 kind of chord progressions with you. Standard kind of blues progressions, which is all great, absolutely nothing wrong with that, but I'd just try something a bit different. Let's just do just those 3 chords.
And No Brainer.
She got the hips, got the waist, got a crazy pair of legs to get to know how was to know.
no-brainer. Similarly, that's designed to be a quirky take on a relationship, chasing a lady, having fun on a blinding gig. Just it's meant to be a bit of fun, really.
Tell us about Good to Bad.
When good things turn to bad, that's just how life goes.
Good to bad. Well, sometimes things do change from good to bad. Just fact of life, isn't it? It was the chord progression came up when we were on a festival working, and we had time to kill, and it was a beautiful sunny afternoon, and I was sitting on the back of this trailer with an acoustic, and these chords just popped out. I mean, it's very much based on kind of like standard jazzy progressions. I love all of those jazz standard tunes, and some of the chords just wicked, and I was just fooling around with some of these things, and I thought, oh, there's a song here, and I was sort of developing it, and I grabbed a pen and I was writing down the chords, because the worst thing in the world is when you come up with something really cool and you forget it. And somebody walked past really cheekily, said to me, if you don't know it now, mate, you'll never know it. Because he presumed I was about what I was fiddling around with. I was about to go and perform on stage. But yeah, so it's just my kind of take on some of those classic chord progressions that are difficult to improve on, really. Again, based on a 1-6-2-5 progression, which is in the key of A this time. Would be your sort of standard chords, and I tried, found a major as opposed to a standard A chord, a major 6. Just really lovely, pretty chord, and I found if you did that's where the main riff came from, those chords there. Then this turnaround, you'd normally have like a standard turnaround would be a you can do this thing where you kind of
Tell us a little bit about In or Out.
Does it really matter if we're in or we are out?
In or Out, yeah, that was just a blues riff that came to me out of nowhere, just one of those hard-hitting sort of blues riffs. I thought, yeah, there's something in this. We can definitely use that. It was at the time of the referendum, so it probably doesn't take that much to work out that that's what the song's about. Yeah, very monumental time. I actually finished writing the lyrics on the day they announced the result of the referendum. I can distinctly remember that, thinking, wow, this is a moment, big moment.
I love how you managed to not pick sides throughout that whole answer.
Well,
That was very political.
And I tried to be like very much like that in the song as well, actually, because genuinely, does it really matter? People get very, very strong and opinionated on the whole topic. I genuinely believe there's a strong argument to say, does it really matter? Yeah, it does affect our lives daily, but in the scheme of things... That classic Pride and Joy thing where they're with that Texas shuffle kind of offbeat. Kind of thing, which is kind of the inspiration behind In or Out. That kind of, so my riff goes.
Mr. Evil.
Can't touch it, but it moves you in so many ways. I feel it running out through your veins.
Mr. Evil, well, that chord progression came up when I was doing a workshop and deliberately trying to come up with some chords that wouldn't work together. Because I was trying to explain how diatonic chord progressions work and things, and I sort of said, for example, if you put these two chords together, I wasn't expecting to like that, but I actually really did. So I made a mental note and sort of moved on and adapted my workshop accordingly. Came back to the chords and developed the progression and came back to it there. But the message behind it is just about how powerful music is. Something that you can't see or touch, but it's just there always, and how it's just kind of like this being and an existence in it. It means different things to different people. Some people just like to listen to music. Some people cannot not play it. Think of it, it's in your blood. It's in your blood, and if you're not doing it, you're kind of fighting against it. But that's what it's all about, the power of music.
So tell us about Oyster Reach.
Oyster Reach down by Ostrich Creek. Harbour Bridge stretching beach to beach.
So Oyster Reach is the name of a pub which is just on the edge of Ipswich. I used to live in the area. It's quite a well-known landmark. It's the area is actually called Ostrich Creek, and it goes back. The pub goes back to 1612, I believe. There used to be oyster beds on the banks of the river. It's right next to the Orwell Bridge, and there's a road that runs underneath the bridge. It's quite a well-known spot, and it's a local area of outstanding natural beauty, I believe. It's a cracking spot just to go and hold up and have a look across the river there. It's great. But the actual pub itself and the area was owned by a family called the Koch family, I believe. And they had, at some stage, the pub was renamed. It used to be called the Ostrich. And the story goes that the local dialect pronounced Osterreach, that sounded like Oyster Reach. And that consequently renamed the pub in error. But apparently that's just a story, but I quite like it. Hence the inspiration for the song. Yeah, that's the main riff, and then the verse for a session. Try and give that sort of floaty kind of feel.
Inspiration?
Oh, there's loads of them. Well, the first inspiration when I listened to music as a younger man and a young child. I mean, I got into actually playing the guitar after I went and watched a local band called the Mean Red Spiders at the Corn Exchange. I was about 15. Went with a friend. The Mean Red Spiders were a bit big on the local scene and did well on the national scene as well. But they were supporting Stevie Marriott. And that was kind of like my first exposure to a proper gig on a stage. And I remember we snuck into the Corn Exchange, me and my friend, in the afternoon when the band was sound checking. And I was like, wow, I absolutely loved it. So excited to go back for the evening. And we did. And the whole experience kind of pinned me to the wall. I was like, wow, that is what I want to do. That's what I want to do. So that's when I started taking it a bit more seriously. I introduced myself to the band and became very friendly with Tony Vines, the guitar player, and took some lessons from him for a few years. He really got me going on the blues road for sure. Lovely guy, very patient with me. We had a lot of fun. That was great. Yeah, since then I got in very much into the rhythm and blues scene, the Dr. Feelgoods, the 9 Below Zero, George Thorogood, and all of that stuff. Absolutely loved the energy of that. We used to go and watch the Hamsters a lot, who they covered a lot of Jimi Hendrix music and ZZ Top. Lots of energy, really thumping, powerful guitar sound, wicked rhythm section. So I've always liked the trio setup. That's always been a thing that I've sort of, one of my favourite lineups really, and that's how I like to perform as a trio. But got into so many different things. I later discovered Stevie Ray Vaughan, massive influence as he was on most guitar players. Clapton, a huge influence. I love Brian Setzer. Love the energy of that rockabilly stuff. It's just awesome. There's so many of them. Scott Henderson. Saw him not so long ago at Ronnie Scott's. What a player. Amazing. Then very much got into the jazz stuff as well later on. Oh, Robin Ford, another monster. And there's Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass, Barney Kessel, and all of the jazz guys. Phenomenal. Completely different thing, technique and style-wise. More challenging in a lot of ways, technique-wise, but just different. And then there's piano players, Oscar Peterson, and one of my favourite piano players. Just absolutely love him. And all the big band stuff, the Count Basie Orchestra, all the Sinatra stuff with the Basie Orchestra. Absolutely love it. The big band, there's nothing quite like a big band. The full-on massive sound that they create. Tommy Emmanuel, what a player. Absolutely phenomenal. I've seen him several times. Fantastic live show. Fortunate enough to meet the guy once as well. Lovely guy and just astonishing musician. Absolutely love his playing. Ella Fitzgerald, absolutely love her singing. Fantastic. Corey Wong, love what he's doing. He's just got a really lovely aura about him. We went to see him. Great musician, and what a band. You get influences from everywhere. Everything influences you. Somebody said to me once, the only true original music is for somebody that's never ever listened to any music. By definition, once you've heard something, you've been inspired by it. But it's good to take inspiration from different sources, and that's very much what I try and do, is cover a different genres and influences and styles and techniques and sounds to try and make it as wide as possible.
So why should people listen to No Regrets?
Well, something a little bit different, being described as quirky. Blues-based it is, but it's certainly not pure blues. Covers a bunch of different messages, some of it serious, some of it humorous, and covering a range of styles. So that really I'm about a live performance. Getting out there and performing live is what I love doing the most. And in terms of a favourite song, it's just very much dependent on the moment, what the vibe is. You know, one gig can be a very different feel to another. Sometimes it's a real proper party, raucous, happy up vibe where you're more full on numbers. You just absolutely go for it. Other times there's a more laid back vibe, and sometimes you're just feeling a bit more soulful, and the slower, more soulful tunes just really hit the spot. You never know. You always get a few little moments in a gig where it just seems to gel, everything seems to happen, and it becomes more than the sum of its parts, and they're the moments that you really live for. Same thing in the studio, really, when something just happens and feels right, and it just gels together and it comes together. That's what you're really looking for.
So if people want to see you live or hear more of your music, how can they?
So the website is timainslie.co.uk, and as long as you spell Ainslie with L-I-E at the end, you'll find it. The Facebook and the Insta is Tim Ainslie and the Vibes.
All right, so what's in the pipeline?
Oh, so there's always a ton of material that I'm working on. I've got a good album's worth of stuff that I'm itching to get in the studio and record. There's so much stuff. Always getting inspiration for ideas and new bits and pieces coming together. And I just love the whole process of knitting everything together and coming up with the themes and putting it all together. Yeah, there must be at least 7 or 8 songs that are pretty well formed now, and a bunch of other stuff that we're going to knock into shape, and really looking forward to getting in the studio and recording again.